You're listening to Don't IEP Alone with special education advocate Lisa Lightner. For more information about Lisa, the IEP Toolkit, and more ways we can help you in your process, go to adayinourshoes.com. Now back to the show with your host, Lisa.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Don't IEP Alone. I'm Lisa Lightner, as usual, and I have another great guest today to talk with, and I'm really excited because, as you all know, if you've been listening to my podcast and you visit my website and all that fun stuff, you know, I am an entrepreneur myself, and that I own my own little small business here that is web-based, and I've gotten into before the reasons why, and the reasons why are that I don't make such a great employee because my son has so many medical appointments. So I kind of had to work for myself, and necessity drove me to this for many reasons, but that was a large part of it. But I also get really excited to meet younger entrepreneurs because I know a lot of women, in particular my age, a lot of moms who are parenting disabled kids who also have had to kind of transform and say, well, you know, I can't get enough time off work that I need, so I want to start my own business. I get really excited to find young people who are just have that spark. So with me today is Rachel Solomon. She's from Massachusetts. And before we get into the entrepreneur-ish contest that we won, Rachel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I have cerebral palsy. I was diagnosed technically at birth, but we didn't find it till I was 4. And I've been back and forth from Boston Children's Hospital my entire life. And my goal has always been to be so independent that I don't need to have a para at school or to have someone with me all the time or all of that. So I'm kind of in the journey now. I just graduated high school. So my journey now is to become more independent.
Great. And I mean, it's unfortunate, I think, that our society isn't as welcoming, as we know, to disabled employees. Most disabled people do not have meaningful employment, which is, again, I could rant about that for days. But I just love that you are like, hey, but I have a great idea and this is what I want to do. So back in October, you won a contest from NFFTY, which is the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship Biz Camp. You won an entrepreneur contest for your idea. So tell us about your idea.
So a little backstory about that. I have danced for little around 10 years, and having to be a dancer, you're up all the time. And what they don't tell you about buying a walker is getting them through insurance totally sucks. And so we learned that pretty quick, and we started buying my walkers from Amazon. And I've tried many different brands of walkers, and we've landed on one that I absolutely love. But the problem with that is the smaller parts on the walker break quickly, and you have to buy a $200 walker every around 4 months. And you think about that, like, you have to, like, my walker is my legs, I like to say. In my speech I gave at the competition, that was my little slogan, is like, my walker is my legs, because it's with me all the time. And I was sort of thinking that a lot of kids have this problem. I go to camps for kids with disabilities, and I have seen this happen to a bunch of people where the wheels break out and all of that. So I thought about, what if you can have something that just comes to your door, a subscription? Like, my mom is also a very busy single mother who can't buy my walker every 5 seconds. So I was like, what if, and she's the queen of subscriptions, by the way. So I was like, you should just have a subscription that brings walker wheels. You don't need to buy a frame. You can buy a one-time frame, customize it to be whatever you want. And then wheels or different walker parts can just come to your house every quarterly or whenever you need them.
I can't even tell you, like, it's, I don't use a walker, but my son does use a wheelchair. And I think that people don't understand, like, they just assume, like, oh, well, insurance is going to pay for it all and all that. And like, yeah, like, insurance pays for walkers and wheelchairs, but it's not that's really oversimplifying it. You know, as you said, it's you can't get just any walker or wheelchair, and you can't get the parts, and you can't, it's usually like a very long approval process, during which time you may have to do without and things like that. So I mean, I think that's a fantastic idea. If that would just make it so, you know, we have an issue with the straps that my son uses, like you said, like I'm doing without and I have to order new straps and all that. But if they would just come to me like once a year, you get new straps, that would be like an amazing, I mean, it would just save time and hassle and all of that. So tell us about the contest. Like, how did you hear about it and what motivated you to enter?
So I have had a great relationship with Perkins School for the Blind until about last March. Going through being at school, they don't have a lot of resources that are good for blind kids, because they kind of show somebody that is already in the district and they give them to you, and I didn't do good with the person that I was with, so they connected me with Perkins, who I absolutely won the lottery with. I love them so much. And
Did you go there? Is that where you went to school?
No, I went to Chelmsford High.
Okay.
But one of my teachers had brought someone in from Perkins.
Okay.
And she said, she's like, I want you to meet one of our teachers here. We think you'll love her so much. She's doing an outreach program, and it was called World of Work. And basically we got an internship. And before I met NFFTY, I wanted to be in childcare, and I wanted to be a child life specialist to give back to everybody who has been with me throughout all of my hospital stays. So I worked in childcare for my internship at Perkins for that summer, and every Friday we would take classes at NFFTY, and we were there for 5 weeks. And every Friday we would just be in NFFTY classes creating this business. And at the end of that 5-week period, we would compete, and whoever's idea kind of not was the best, but most prepared and all of that, well thought through and whatever, got to go to the competition. And I did not think that that was me at first. I was actually the most unprepared going up to my competition, my small competition at Perkins, because I'm not sure how many people at NFFTY actually know this, but I very much freeballed my my whole my part of the competition, because I was so, like, in my mind, putting the business together is amazing, but having the story behind it is also what gets people. So I was very into the story when I was giving my pitch. And I actually made one of the people in that room cry. So, but I definitely did not think, when they said my business name, I was like, it like took me a second. Like, it probably took me about 30 seconds to be like, wait a minute, that's me. I was like really not paying attention. But going to the competition was absolutely amazing. My mentor, I love her so much. I am so happy that I was paired with her. She's great to work with. She's a great person. And honestly, my NFFTY adventure now, I am so happy to call them my new business family.
That's great. So how do you see it working once you get it set up? Like, you know, if you're a disabled child or a disabled adult, but also let's reach out and say, okay, we have a lot of senior citizens who use walkers and probably use them, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, they use them, you know, you wear them out, right? Because you use them all the time. And so to that person who is listening and perks up a little bit because they're like, oh, hey, wait a minute, I use a walker. Like, how would it work for them if they're a customer?
It would. So the idea is to have a website where you can customize your own walker, and then you can have a one-time buy if you like that idea, or you can have a subscription so you can add like wheels or wheelchair straps. I'm also very interested in doing all different medical equipment. I kind of want to branch out because I do have friends with wheelchairs that I've heard the same thing happens. So kind of having it to be a subscription, or like having a senior walker is different than having a child walker. So I'd also want to do that, but making sure that like it's very easy accessible to have the website open to kind of do what you would like for your walker.
Okay. So as you went through, like, okay, you have this idea, you come up with it, and then you enter a contest. Like, I would imagine that things kind of happened at a rate that maybe you weren't expecting. And like, what were some things that you learned? You said you learned a lot from your mentor and you took classes. Like, what's been kind of surprising or rewarding for you on this journey?
It was so fast. I did not, because I started the classes in July, and the business was in October, or the competition was in October. So kind of the speed that it was at, it was kind of all of these. I walked into the competitions, and there was this girl who had this business for food trucks, and she was like, had trucks all over the country and was all set up and ready to go. And I'm just like here with my little slides in my walker business. And I was like, wow, I'm not prepared like these people. But then I remember sitting with my mentor, and she was like, you are just as important as they are. Yeah. You might not have a lot, but you have the importance to be here. And it's so surprising to me that it still all happened.
Yeah.
Because when I was graduating, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I left Chelmsford High, and I was like, I have no idea what the fall looks like right now. Like, maybe I'll get a job, maybe I'll be at home. I have no idea. And then Perkins brought me into NFFTY, and I was like, wow, this is a whole thing. And now I am running a business, and this is crazy. I'm still in the shock of that, actually.
So if I can ask, is the program at Perkins, and again, so people who, I have a national audience, so not everybody's East Coasters like us. I'm down near Philadelphia, but they may not understand Perkins School for the Blind is obviously for blind and visually impaired students. Is their program, so I don't want anybody who's listening to be like, oh, well, I'm going to look into Perkins. Is this program, the NFFTY program, is that also only for people who are associated with Perkins in some manner? You're blind or visually impaired or disabled? No, it's not. Okay.
So NFFTY is a separate organization, and they just partnered with Perkins.
Okay, so you partner. Okay, gotcha. And that makes more sense. So they are a separate organization. So look them up if you're interested. NFFTY, it's NFTE. And tell us, so where do you go from here? You won the contest, and what are your next steps? What are your goals for the next, say, 3, 6, 12 months?
Right now, I am meeting with a bunch of people who can help me create a website. I'm pairing with a bunch of different entrepreneurs to kind of bounce off each other and give each other ideas and all of that. I've met with 3 people who do different things that can help build the walkers, to creating the website and giving ideas. So I'm hoping to have the website up first, or a mock-up of the website first, because then we can see where we want to go from there. Building the walker is going to take a very long time. Building the first walker is going to take a long time, more than, because I don't want it to be a walker that you just buy from Amazon. I want it to be the walker that everybody goes to, that doesn't break all the time. But if it does, or you want to change out the parts, that's great. But I think getting the website is my first step.
That's good. And so what advice would you have for other teens and young entrepreneurs who are maybe like, they have an idea rolling around in their head and they just have been too shy or too timid to not kind of move forward? What advice would you give?
I would say go for it 100%. I'm a very loud, hyper, and upbeat person when it comes to like talking about things. So I was definitely not shy when I gave both of my pitches at the competition and at Perkins, and I would honestly say go for it. You don't know that you could be changing someone's life with a product. And I think the way that I'm helping families, anybody could help anybody else.
Yeah. Yep. There certainly are a lot of problems to solve in the world. Well, the name of the business is Quick Change. I will put that in the show notes. Obviously, I don't have a link to share yet, but is there somewhere where people can do you have a social media account that you want to share?
So I have,
or where people can find you if they're interested in reading more. Of course, I'll share the information about NFFTY.
Yes, I can. I'm trying to think of. I don't have a website up just yet.
Okay.
So I can follow up with that as soon as I get there. But going to NFFTY's page, all of my stuff is on there.
Oh, okay. Good. I will definitely share that link in the show notes. And then you said you just left high school, so you're young. Like, what are your goals and plans, and what do you want to do? Because I do have a lot of, all the parents who listen to my podcast, they all have kids with IEPs, and, what are your goals?
Oh my gosh, there are so many. So I've actually not gone to the same school. My whole entire high school career, I've gone to 3 different high schools.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in 3 different states. So I've got my fair share of how crazy school systems work. I'd also say I won the lottery with Chelmsford. But right now, because I've gone to Boston Children's a long time, and I'm very great friends with them, I want to give back. I've always wanted to help kids with disabilities in any way I can. And I'm hoping to go to college in the fall for child life psychology. So that I can, which apparently all my friends who are in college now say is the most boring class they have ever taken. But I am so excited for it because just seeing, when I was working in childcare, seeing how happy the kids get in a special ed classroom is one of the most precious things I've ever been with. And I think that all kids with any sort of IEP should be treated equal, 100%. And I want to make sure that happens. Or if you're in, my goal being, if I become a child life specialist, it would be to make sure the kid is having fun. When I had the biggest surgery of my life, the child life specialist made sure that I was doing everything fun, even though I was in the hospital having all of the machines hooked up all the time, that I was still doing things that I love doing all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to give back.
Well, that's nice. I think you're going to create change. That's for sure. It sounds like it. If you're doing this much at this young age, I can only imagine what the next 5 or 10 years are going to look like. All right. Before we say goodbye to everyone, is there anything additional you'd like to add or anything you'd like to say?
Oh, I don't know. I feel like, honestly, to anybody, if you want to become an entrepreneur, keep going. I am having a ball doing it. I think it's so much fun. I'm so grateful for NFFTY, and I'm grateful for everybody who got me here. And that's just, I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It is. It has its ups and downs, but now that I'm in it, I wouldn't trade it for anything. So,
I agree.
All right. Well, again, thank you, Rachel Solomon, for being here. All the information that you need, if you're listening, will be in the show notes. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Don't IEP Alone with special education advocate Lisa Lightner. We're so glad you've joined us and would love to connect with you outside of the show. For more information about Lisa, the IEP Toolkit, and more ways we can help you in your process, go to adayinourshoes.com. From self-care tips to common IEP mistakes, there's even more to explore. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast and subscribe to never miss an episode. Until next time, don't IEP alone. And you don't have to.